there. Welcome to another edition of the Triple C. This is Comics, Cosplay, and Cinema. I am your host. You know me as the Foggy Knight. You guys might know me as Jake as well. And joining me as always, the Sith Lord himself, Lee Lawson is in the house. What's up, Lee? How are you, man?
I'm great, man. How are you guys doing?
All right. We have a very special episode today, but first, we would like to say a special thank you to Nomadic State of Mind for sponsoring this episode. The summer is upon us, so check out their amazing beachwear, sandals, bags, anything under the sun, pun intended. There you guys. So Nomadic State of Mind, check them out. We are going to do something a little different on this show. We're constantly being asked, like, who is your favorite this? Who is your favorite that? And we've decided, you know what? Let's have an episode where we make a list breaking down the top 15 Star Wars characters. We had to do 15 instead of 10 because there's so many characters in this galaxy far, far away that it was like next to impossible to do 10. So we're going to do our top 15 favorite Star Wars characters.
Yep.
How was this list for you? Was it hard, easy?
I actually found it to be kind of hard.
It was. There's so many characters.
I really did. Yeah, there are.
So many different time frames, you know?
I will say my top three were fairly easy.
My top five were easy.
Yeah.
After that, it got kind of difficult.
I mean, right before the show, I actually switched somebody from the top five all the way down to the very bottom. So, I mean, it's been going through lots of different incarnations. But I got to say, before we get into this too, man, Star Wars related, a couple episodes ago, you told me to sit down and watch the last four episodes of the Clone Wars. And I did. And I will say, I was actually on the show, got me on record saying that I wasn't a huge fan of the animation and all this stuff. And that still sticks true, I say. Definitely when it comes to the human characters. But I thought the last four episodes were phenomenal. And for those who don't know, it takes place actually during the Revenge of the Sith, what's going on there. And I just needed to say I watched it. I follow, if you guys haven't watched it, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, and if you're just more of a TV show, live action TV show and movie guy like I've been, you can't go wrong watching those last four.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal. So thank you for
No problem. I have to ask, since you didn't see like the whole show, were you still able to, I guess because of the Revenge of the Sith, you did know, I understand like what was going on, and was it confusing at all?
No, it wasn't, because I guess peripherally I knew enough about characters like Captain Rex and Ahsoka, you know what I mean, and all that stuff. But I think for what was interesting is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you watched the whole series.
Yeah.
Anakin and Obi-Wan, right, were the two main characters through that whole. Is that accurate?
No.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I would say Ahsoka is the main character.
Oh, and the whole series.
The whole series definitely Ahsoka.
Okay, well then that makes sense.
But I mean, we're talking like 1A, 1B. I mean, they're almost all in all of them. You know what I mean?
Right. So what was that saying? Was it jarring then? And maybe it wasn't, because Ahsoka's been there apparently this whole time. But for me, it was like, okay, if Obi-Wan and Anakin were the main characters you're following through Clone Wars, that you do the first two episodes, and then the last two, they go off and do whatever they're doing in Revenge of the Sith, of course.
Yeah.
And then the last two is all about Ahsoka and even Bo-Katan.
And Rex.
Rex, and then, so I think it would have been, because I enjoyed it a lot, but I think I would have been a little bit more emotional, because apparently there's characters in there that we're following that have been part of the clone, clone team, or the clone, what have you, that have been good guys, and all of a sudden they're forced against their will to start killing their friends. So I think that would have been more heartbreaking and more emotionally attached if I'd known these characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But still, I thought those four episodes were phenomenal, as you said.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. And for context for you as well, there's like a little bit of time that Ahsoka's not there. She leaves the Jedi Order. Her famous line is, "I'm no Jedi," because she leaves, and that was when she first comes back. Those episodes, and it's like, here we go, and you get that. Her epic battle with Maul is just like,
it was awesome, man.
And Maul, man, how'd you find this Darth Maul compared to?
I loved it. I thought it was
hear
great.
him talk.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bad boy.
So, do they set up? I thought the main nemesis were Obi-Wan and I just thought that was and Maul. Yeah. But is it really Ahsoka and Maul? Do they kind of pivot to that as being the two that are clashing?
So Maul, it's funny because I really want you to watch these episodes of Rebels.
I will now.
But I will say there is another battle between Ahsoka and Maul that will happen. But that being said, in his head, Maul wants nothing but to find Kenobi.
Got it.
Throughout he just doesn't know where he is because he's gone,
Right.
because he's hiding in Tatooine. But you'll get both.
So Kenobi doesn't make an appearance in Rebels at all, right?
Oh, he does.
Oh, he does. Okay. All right. See, I might have to just jump right into Rebels because I enjoyed those last.
If you want to know, does Maul find Kenobi? Maybe.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
What I do say, I will say about if you like Rebels is that version is very Alec Guinness. It looks like Alec Guinness. It sounds like Alec Guinness. So it kind of gives you a little nod to the original, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But again, there's so many characters. Are there any just saying their name, honorable mentions that at least are worth mentioning before we dive into the actual list and stuff? Because I have two.
Yeah, actually, there is. And one, well, I'll just start with Chirrut Imwe. I don't know if you recognize that character's name or not from Rogue One, played by Donnie Yen.
Loved him.
He was, and Donnie Yen, a famous Hong Kong actor, mixed martial artist,
amazing.
and all that stuff. Yeah, but I think, to me, he made such an impact. Only been in one film. I don't know if he's had Star Wars outside of. Okay, I don't know if so he appeared in the prequels or on the animated stuff or anything like that. But I think in Rogue One, though, he made such a. Everybody's all about the Jedi. There was no Jedis in Rogue One, which was awesome. But this guy was the next best thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was.
I mean, he was phenomenal in that. Yeah. So he made such an impact for him, and I don't even know if he didn't even show up till like halfway through the movie either. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just thought him. He's one.
Great.
So he's on there.
Awesome.
And my other one would be, and this character I knew peripherally for a long time through my nephews and stuff like that, but I did watch the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, as I said. So Captain Rex has earned a spot on that for honorable mention. Yeah. I'm sure if I knew more about him, then he'd probably be even higher up on the list. Yeah. But the way he impacted me on those 4 episodes, he wasn't even anywhere on this list until I saw those.
He goes through a lot.
Yeah.
And you even see it that brief when you see the tear come out.
Yep.
I mean, it's
so him and Ahsoka, it seemed like they had a deep relationship as well.
Ahsoka and Anakin, and then Ahsoka and Rex, and then Rex and Anakin.
Yeah,
the 3 of them are like awesome. The little gang.
That's cool, man.
Very cool.
But yeah, so those are my 2 on the honorable mention list. How about you?
I have 2. In the reason, and I'll explain my reason why they're not on the top 15. Number 1 is Darth Revan. He's just not in enough of the canon where I know more about him to be able to put him on the list. But man, he's like the concept of him and what I do know is so badass. He was a Jedi, but kind of like the Jedi main guy, goes to the Sith, then comes back to the Jedi, and is he's the main Jedi, main Sith, main Jedi again.
Okay.
And he has a purple lightsaber and a red. He's like kind of goes back and forth. He's what they kind of call like a gray Jedi because he's doesn't really follow like it verbatim like what the Jedi code is, but he's not really a hardcore Sith anymore. Just his life and the concept of him is very fascinating to me. So I gotta at least give him a nod. And number 2 is Chewie. I know your eyes just popped on it, but just because you can't really communicate,
right?
You know what I mean? I love Chewie. If he had lines I knew what he was saying, I would say he'd be a top 5.
You can't understand him?
No, I don't understand Wookiee. But I love Chewie. It's just compared to other characters who have lines and I can understand the context of them.
Yeah,
he's an honorable mention, but he's still my favorite sidekick of all time. Like if I ever had a sidekick in Star Wars, he would be my guy.
There you go.
So that's honorable mentions. Let's get into our actual list here. So how we're going to break this down is we'll break down your 15 through 11, and we'll just talk kind of openly about that, and I'll do mine, and we'll just break it down for that. So your 15 through 11. Let's go.
Oh, all right. I will begin. My 15 through 11, I'm going to start with Cassian
Andor.
Nice. Yes. I thought he's a pretty interesting character. I loved him in Andor. I loved him in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see where he continues to go. I like the whole setup of Andor and how they're going to kind of take us right up into with the last few minutes that we see him before Rogue One. So I think as the series goes on, he might even be able to earn a place higher up on my list.
Yeah.
But as of right now, he's number 15.
Yeah.
And I just like the fact that he started off as, he's just gone through almost like a
good arc.
Good arc for him.
Yeah.
So he's a pretty interesting character for me.
Love it. My number 15 is Harrison Dula, prominently in Rebels. You'll see her upcoming in Ahsoka if you haven't seen Rebels. Space Mom, as I call her, she's part of the Rebel crew, the Ghost Ship. I would argue, besides maybe Poe, even more. I'll put it like this: if you haven't seen her, if I had someone to captain my ship, she would be the pilot. She over Han, over Poe, over Lando. She's a absolutely amazing pilot. She really holds that Rebels crew together. I love her relationship with Kanan, and just her. She has a very like nurturing personality. That's why I call her Space Mom. She's just kind of like, she's that person that's like looking out for everybody. She's got the bigger picture, but an extremely strong leader within the Rebel Alliance. She's kind of the main one that sparks the greater Rebel Alliance that you'll know from the original trilogy, and brings them all together. So she's my number 15, and I can't wait to see her in Ahsoka.
See, there's so many cool Star Wars characters that I can't wait to get to know better and dive into the different aspects of it. You know, like I said, with Rebels, and then the fact that she's going to make her live action appearance in Ahsoka, which, you know, everybody said, Filoni's even kind of said, everybody's asking him, is this the continuation of Rebels? And so the fact that this is, I kind of feel like I'm going to be I'm sure it'll be done to where I can jump in and still enjoy it, but I think I would love to know the backstory.
You need to watch Rebels more. You got time. You got enough time.
Yeah, I got to jump into that, man. So good choice. I look forward to getting
Also getting playing by Ewan McGregor's wife. So we're going to have Kenobi's wife playing Hera in Ahsoka.
Who played the Huntress in
yes, she did.
In
Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey, yes. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, number 14.
Number 14 for me is I've got Finn down here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got Finn. I hated to actually put him on this list at this spot because I feel like we've got so much more.
What could have happened?
What could have happened to him? You know what I mean? So he deserves to probably be even. If the arc had gone like he probably thought, the actor had thought when he took the role, he'd probably be even higher up there on the list. Yeah. You know what I mean? But they really faltered him, and I look forward to the fact that it hasn't been officially announced. But you know, we talked about a couple episodes ago how we're going to have the continuation 15 years into the future. There's been a lot of speculation that he will come back, and I think his character will be done justice. Because
that's probably the only reason he will come back.
Exactly, is to say let's give Finn more. But you know, he had the interesting story to being a stormtrooper. You know what I mean? And then jumping from that into being into the Rebel Alliance or whatever they were called then. Yeah. In that time frame, I can't remember. Maybe they were just a Rebel
Resistance.
Resistance, yeah. So I think that to me, I look forward to, if we do this in a couple of years, I look forward to him being higher up on my list.
Yeah, well, I'm going to piggyback off of you because my guy kind of the same thing as Kylo Ren at my 14. I think he could have been higher had they not killed him off in the movies. I said it before. I think he's the one redeeming character of the sequel trilogy. Finn was going in that direction, but because what they did with Finn, he also probably would have been on my list. But Kylo, I loved his arc. I thought he was the most intriguing, fascinating character of the sequel trilogy. Obviously very powerful. Grandson of Vader, the son of Han Solo and Leia. The fact that he kills Han Solo, I don't think any of us thought that he was touchable, from a mortality standpoint, going into that movie, and just obviously that just blew everything out of the water. And just knowing how they did The Last Jedi, where he kind of turns and he doesn't turn, it was just he was one that was handled very, very well from that regard. Just wish he didn't die because I thought he had a lot more to offer. And I thought if you were going to do something, and I think I even talked about it, if you were going to continue on with that world, he was the one I think that would have made the most sense to be like, oh, that'd be interesting to see. How's he redeem himself? That would have been a good story. What is Ben Solo like? What was Ben Solo like when he was with Luke before he went to the dark side?
We don't know any of that, actually.
Yeah, so he could have been a lot higher, but he was fascinating enough where he's my number 14 slot. So.
That's cool, man. I like that. I like that choice. I'm going to go with somebody here who, for a lot of you diehard Star Wars fans, are like, why is she so low? But I'm going to go with Ahsoka. Only because I'm just getting to know her.
Yeah.
Right. I am, again, as I said, I just know the live action stuff, but she's made some appearances, played by Rosario Dawson, and those last 4 episodes that I just watched of Clone Wars focused on her. So I'm getting immersed with my Ahsoka stuff here recently, and I do like the character.
Yeah.
And the fact that I didn't, all this is new to me about her not being a Jedi and all of that, and walking away from the Jedis and all that stuff. So I look forward to knowing her, getting to know her character more, and diving into more of her lore and actually what's going to happen with her here in the show and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's that's why she's made my list. If I hadn't even seen those shows, I don't know how if she'd been on there.
Yeah. Good enough. My number 13 is Grand Admiral Thrawn. Touching on Ahsoka, he's going to be the big bad of that, as well as kind of the overarching big bad of this whole Mandalorian verse that we're in now. But also, towards the latter part of Rebels is the big bad of that, where you see him in a film or series for the first time. He's really predominantly known for a novel series, part of the Thrawn, the Thrawn trilogy, exactly. Very interesting character. I wouldn't even classify him as a villain. What's interesting about it is, like, throughout the stories, he has moments of kindness. He's not really cruel to people, but he's think of him kind of like a little Batman-ish. He's always 3 steps ahead, just very smart, very always ahead, especially from a military standpoint. Knows the strategies, knows what they're going to do before they even do it, has a backup plan for the backup plan, and he's just very fascinating because you don't really know. Again, he's not really all bad, but then he has the little moments where you're like, oh, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then other moments where you're like, oh, he's not really a bad guy, especially in the novels. So he's very fascinating. I'm very curious to see what they do with him in the Ahsoka series, as well as just in general. I do believe he's going to be the big bad of the Mandalorian movie when it comes out as well. And without spoiling for the Rebels people, just the question mark of how Rebels ended. Where is he?
Right.
What is he doing? Like, where's he been? Him and Ezra have this tie now. So very, very much looking forward to Thrawn's future. But for now, he's number 13 for me. So let's jump over into number 12.
I'm going to go with Darth Maul for me.
Oh!
Yeah, number 12 is Darth Maul. Again, I am just now, you're going to hear me say this a lot, right? That I'm just now getting more more into these characters. Because before I just had Darth Maul from
all 7 minutes?
All 7 minutes of the Phantom Menace. Again, made a freaking huge impact.
Oh, yeah.
In that 7 minutes of time with the limited dialogue that he even had in there, but it was really good stuff. And then, like I said, the fact that I kind of made my list after I watched those 4 episodes. So he kind of
I'm glad it got some impact on that.
No, it definitely did. Characters made it that I wouldn't have been on there before. But no, Darth Maul is he's on here because of what I've seen of him, and again, what I look forward to learning even more about him.
Yeah.
Because he also seems to be a little. I mean, is he evil?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? And that's what I'm saying. So he's more...
But he's not really tied to anything at this point.
Yeah, he's actually kind of wanting, based on what I saw, right?
He wants everybody to go.
Yeah, even he's not really trying to fight for the Empire anymore.
Oh, hell
like
no.
that. He hates them.
Wants to kill them all.
He actually was like, I'm being discarded. He felt like he was thrown by the wayside for this new Anakin, or for Darth Vader and stuff like that. So to see it's not like he's just with the Empire, he's out for himself. So that's what I'm saying. To me, it's really interesting to see that.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? And to see he's like not, and you could tell me, do him and Vader ever have any scenes together?
The Emperor kills his brother. Palpatine kills his brother.
Darth
Maul's brother.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a...
Are there ever... No
the special episode I'm talking about in Rebels. I'm trying to get Lee to watch, by the way, for those who have watched Rebels who know. They're in the same episode together, but you never see them fight each other.
Interesting. Okay. All right, don't say anymore because I will watch that.
It will blow your mind, that episode.
Well, I can't wait. But no, Darth Maul, man, he made my list, and again, he's probably really high up on your list because you know that character so well. But I'm just now getting to know him more, and I can't wait to see what he has in store for me.
Awesome. My number 12 is actually kind of funny because it's like the opposite of what we've been saying. It's Boba Fett is 12.
Oh,
he probably would have been higher on my list had the most recent show not come out.
You stole my line.
Seriously. For a long time, I mean, talking about decades, this guy was kind of equivalent to Darth Maul because there wasn't a lot known about him. Like this unknown, who is this badass in this cool armor and blah, blah, blah. And then, they bring him back in Mandalorian in phenomenal fashion, by the way. And I was like, yep, this is Boba Fett. Because for a long time, he was known to be like the guy. He's the bounty hunter. He's got a cool look. He's got a cool backstory with Jango Fett. And obviously from the original trilogy, he gets Han Solo and the Carbonite. And ever since that moment, there was like this Friends of Boba Fett. Just how they handle it at the end kind of brought him back. It's still an amazing character. And, I think it obviously tarnished, but what's been done already in the past has already been done. He's a great character. And I hope they redeem him a little bit. I know he's makes an appearance in the new the new Jedi game. And he's in his original outfit.
Oh,
and
cool.
Back to being a badass again.
That's awesome.
So Boba Fett. I know, a big fan favorite, but for me, he's number 12.
I have him as my next one here. Boba Fett written here for my number 11, I guess is what we're moving to, right?
Yep.
Or my 12. Yeah, number 11. And I had literally was going to say the exact same thing. If that show hadn't come out, he could have made my higher up.
Yeah.
But that show was just, to me, I've said it before, I have said it again, it was so tedious.
Yeah.
And it was just whatever. Anytime the Bantha take showed up and it was just flashbacks.
Like, oh, no.
It really made him drop a couple notches for me, man. But again, he's still a cool character, and like you said, I'm just repeating everything you said. I'd like to see if hopefully they can redeem him. I believe he'll make the appearance in the Mandalorian movies as well.
Yeah,
I do believe he will be there. I did read that the actor was waiting he thought he was going to actually be in the Mandalorian season, the new Mandalorian season.
He's like, the
And he
shiny
never
guy
got the
took over
call.
my series.
Yeah,
Let me get in yours.
Exactly. But no, he made such a huge impact, like you said, in the Empire Strikes Back, and that had the mystique about him and all of that. Almost like a Darth Maul of that time.
Yeah. Kind of a shadowist.
Yeah, you know what I mean? To have
bounty
such
hunter.
small screen time, but be so popular, like Darth Maul did what became from
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace. Yeah, so that Boba Fett.
All right, my number 11. I'm rounding out my first 5 with Kanan Jarrus, from my second Rebels, I guess third Rebels character that's come up. Kanan, to me, what an arc. You see him very briefly in Bad Batch as a child during Order 66, which actually helped boost him up because you saw why he is the way he is in Rebels. If you watch the very first episode of Bad Batch, as a child, you see the clones kill his master, and he's off by himself. So he was a Jedi Padawan for a very brief time, because I want to say he looks like, I don't know, 10 years old when all that happened. But found Hera, and then basically started the Rebel Alliance. I mean, really, a lot of people say like Mon Mothma, and I guess she had the backing to start what we know as the Rebel Alliance.
Right.
But Hera and Kanan are what started the Rebels. They started making these little actions to, hey, you can stand up to these people, and like people should get their freedom. And he doesn't show he's a Jedi, but like very so often until he meets Ezra, and then he not only becomes, this kind of dad and a person who is doing these rebel things, not just to stick it to the Empire, but to genuinely help people. Like they do missions to like find food for other planets and live. So he's an amazing person, but then to see his evolutionary growth as a Jedi, and I want to say stuff about him that I don't want to ruin Rebels for him for the 2 episodes that I want him to watch, but to see him. Do you want me to say it or not?
You can say it.
Okay, cool. To see him have be a regular Jedi, to have Darth Maul blind him and really become stronger because he has to be more tuned with the Force, because he gets blinded by Darth Maul with his lightsaber. And then ultimately, sacrificing himself for the people he loves. I mean, his arc is just an amazing person, and
So that goes. I was going to ask, my next question to you was like, is he going to be in the live action? But I'm guessing not.
I hope he's a Force ghost
he is.
or a flashback, because he's an amazing character. He really is. I love Kanan. Ray, I know. Did you watch Rebels? Are you familiar with Kanan?
I intermittently watched it. I don't know if I was fully paying attention, but I think I remember Kanan.
Yeah, he's cool. He's the one with the blind guy. So,
But I know the characters.
Yeah, that guy.
You know what I mean? I know what they look like and stuff like that. So I know the character. I knew who
and
you're
voiced
talking
by
about.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes.
He does a phenomenal job.
Oh, okay. I thought he voiced Ezra, so he voices the other guy.
The other guy. He's Kanan.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So that's 15 through 11. So now we're going to dive into our top 10, top 5 10 through 6. So we're getting into, I guess, more of the heavy hitters for you. Let's give me all of them, 10 through 6 real quick, and then just kind of overview each one a little bit as you go.
Like just name all 5. All right, I'm gonna go with Mace Windu.
10. Okay.
Yep, I have Chewbacca as my number 9. I had to put him in there. I've got Bo-Katan.
Love it.
And then Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi
is there for me. Is that 5?
You have 10.
Yep, I said him. I think I did.
Okay.
Wait. Mace, Chewbacca, Bo-Katan, Obi-Wan. Oh, no. One more. Darth Vader.
Whoa. Wow. Okay.
Anakin Skywalker.
Wait, Anakin or Vader?
I actually... Did you break them up to 2 different characters?
They're 2 different people.
They are 2 different people. Shit. Oh, shoot. I actually put Darth Vader down.
Okay.
But then I have Anakin in parentheses. So I'm going to talk about them as 2 characters. Because to me, they are 2 different characters, but Darth Vader to me is still Anakin, or else he wouldn't be having the hatred for Obi-Wan and have that need for revenge that he has for him. You know what I mean? So he's holding on to the Anakin stuff, which probably makes him less powerful because he's holding on to all of that, or maybe I'm wrong, but you know what I mean? Holding on to all of that hate. So that to me, they're the same in a roundabout way. But I understand what you're saying.
There's 2 different people, because I think you can view it as the same, and some people would think it's 2. Like, I think it's 2 different people.
And that makes sense to me.
So, yeah. And I'll explain why. Obviously, the man's on my list. So
yeah. So those are my top. The first.
Yeah. Talk about a couple of them.
Well, Mace Windu, man, I thought he was. He's Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson. I mean, so Mace Windu. I mean, and he beat Palpatine.
Yeah, he did.
He beat him.
Yeah, he did.
He had him. Hands down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Until Anakin threw,
Pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right? But the fact that he did that, and so Palpatine's supposed to be this
almighty. Yeah.
Almighty.
Yeah.
But Mace
is like
him.
the number 1 saber. And fun fact, he had bad MF on engraved in his lightsaber.
Did he? I love it. But yeah, so that's why Mace is there for me, because he actually took down, if it wasn't for the involvement of Anakin, the stuff would have been over before it started.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
agree.
I mean? Or it was done, and all this wouldn't have happened. So that's why Mace, to me, he's just
And he also, like, really knew Anakin. Like, he was like, something's off. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't trust him. You know, and he was right. All his hunches were correct.
Yeah. So true. That's why Mace is up there. Chewbacca I have, man.
Yeah,
just because he's Chewie.
Just say it's Chewie.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I just love the fact that he was one of the true characters that stayed through both trilogies. Yeah, he wasn't focused on, but you know what I mean? It was
glad he got his medal.
Yeah, exactly. Finally got his medal. I still am mad that him and Leia didn't have that scene together when they walked by and didn't commiserate.
Oh, his reaction to her death was like gut punching.
I know it really was.
I remember when those movies came out. The one thing I said, I was like, they better not freaking kill Chewie. That was my one thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. All of them else can die.
Yep.
Don't touch Chewie.
Yeah. So, he also holds a special place in my heart because he was like, I remember him and C-3PO were the first 2 action figures of Star Wars that I had.
That's awesome.
They were the actual very first 2.
That's cool.
And they also, as a child, that's made the biggest impression because I'd never seen anything like that with the walking carpet running around, and then and then C-3PO and all that stuff. But anyway, that's why Chewie's on my list. Bo-Katan, she is a recent addition. If we had made this list a year ago, she wouldn't be on there at all. I knew of her again because of the reason I know about peripherally, but I really got to enjoy this character in the Mandalorian series, specifically in season 3.
Oh.
Yes, so I mean, she was arguably maybe even the main character of season 3.
I would agree with that.
You know what I mean? So and she's didn't hurt that she was played by Katie Sackhoff, who I loved from Battlestar Galactica, Starbuck.
Amazing,
and I love how they kind of used. She was the voice artist in the animated stuff.
The Bo-Katan.
So I mean, I just thought it was awesome, and I just like her character, man, and I can't wait to see where her character continues to go.
Yeah.
And she was also really used well in those 4 episodes I watched of the Clone Wars. So just all good stuff from her. I just like that character a lot. And she's and the fact that it shows you a different faction of the whole Mandalorians. That I think it's from her point of view where we learn, more of the Mandalorian culture and lore and all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great. That's a great.
And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, that's kind of going.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. To finish off my top 5, Obi-Wan, and then his series has been the best one. And Mandalorian's been great, but his show that came out almost a year ago was phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I've liked both iterations of Obi-Wan.
I was gonna ask,
Ewan McGregor.
being that you're from the original trilogy,
I got to go with Ewan, dude.
I mean,
Alec
so good.
Guinness was. He was great. He did a great job as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he did.
But we didn't really get to see Obi-Wan. We saw a lot of Ben.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you catch what you're picking up what I'm putting down there, we saw a lot of Ben Kenobi. He was really prominently used in the New Hope, but then he just made sporadic appearances.
Yeah.
As a Force Ghost in Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Kenobi,
so I got to go
Ewan
with Ewan McGregor's version, who we really got to know Kenobi at that point in time.
I love it.
And then, of course, Darth. We can talk about him when we go in.
Okay.
Yeah.
My 10 through 6. So number 10 for me is Ezra Bridger from Rebels. I got 9 is Bo-Katan. 8, Din Djarin, a.k.a. Mando.
There you go.
7 for me is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh.
And 6 is Darth Maul. That's for me. I'll go for me, Ezra. It's funny because watching Rebels, especially at the beginning, he's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, he's a character you're like, man, this kid's annoying. You know what I mean? But as you watch him grow, you're like, oh, I'm kind of liking this kid. Oh, I'm like really liking this kid. And just to watch his evolution through that is fantastic. He's not, because Kanan's not he left a Jedi. Obviously, he was so young when the Jedi ended. He's not like to the book a Jedi. He kind of flirts both ways. He has his brief relationships with Maul, Ezra, and he's a very optimistic person, and he's like, oh no, he's a good guy. And obviously you're like, no, man, no. But to watch him grow and learn, you kind of learn a lot about the Jedi and the Force through Ezra. And then to see, his arc within Rebels is amazing. And I'm very excited. I think everybody is, we see the hologram, but like, is he going to show up in Ahsoka? Like, what's he going to be like in his adult? It's so different from when we see him as a kid. And to kind of touch on, it's funny with the last episode of Mando season 2. A lot of people thought it was Ezra that was going to come and find Grogu, not Luke. I'm glad they went with Luke, obviously.
Yeah.
But I know Ezra was a lot of the speculation just because he's kind of around and young at that time. So he's 10. Great character if you like Rebels. You have to have him on there. Bo-Katan, same for you. I always liked her, especially in Clone Wars and in Rebels. She's literally been in everything. But to see her arc from Clone Wars to Rebels and then where we are in Mandalorian, season 3 especially, she just catapulted. I thought she was the star standout. Yep. Katie is just, she's amazing as her. And she was honestly my favorite character of the show. Mm-hmm. Even obviously I have Din next, which I'll dive into. But for the season, I thought she was the best. And to your point, she's kind of the key to like get an understanding of what Mandalore was like prior to where we see it in Mandalorian, which you see in Clone Wars. And you see her in Clone Wars when she's young. She's still an adult, but a very young adult. To like in Rebels where she's a little older, and now in Mandalorian where she's in her, I'm assuming like her 40s,
right?
And to see how she's changed and what she's learned and what she's gone through, losing her sister, seeing her sister die, seeing her people die, seeing her planet get like ravaged, and then kind of getting this dark saber and bringing it back up. She's definitely worthy of being on the list. Din Djarin, I'm just gonna call him Mando. His impact on Star Wars as of late, I think he has the biggest impact on Star Wars in bringing it back and bringing some positivity back to the franchise. I mean, it's funny to think of what Star Wars, like the state of Star Wars, especially with all the chaos that was going on with the movies. And here's this breath of fresh air Mandalorian show that just caught the world on fire. Yep. I mean, it really you see any store you go into, no matter Target, Barnes and Noble, Mando and Baby Yoda, just everywhere. And just the frenzy, it's brought Star Wars back. And then all the cameos that's come from that show. But really has become, as I allude to, what Boba Fett was.
Yes.
He's the guy now. Like he is the guy. And I think I would even argue for people, I would say maybe, I don't know, kids, 10, if they said Star Wars, close your eyes and things, he'd probably be the character that would pop in their head. He's just become such an instant fan favorite. And I just love the character and the show. Obi-Wan, I don't know what more to say. I'm staying with Ewan McGregor. I think when I think of a Jedi, just a Jedi, he's the first. Actually, Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan is what I just think of if I think of a Jedi. Like
Right.
he is that everything from Clone Wars to I wish I could go back and see more of his younger days, even prior to Clone Wars. His relationship with
Qui-Gon?
Bo-Katan's
Bo-Katan.
sister.
Okay, gotcha.
They were in love with each other. You touch on it, and you see it a little bit in the Clone Wars, but you don't actually get to like see it and
Right.
like where did it originate from. His relationship with Qui-Gon and with Anakin, it's like, you remember at Phantom Menace, he's like, should we even bring this kid? Like, just leave him, know?
Right.
And in the guilt he faces, he's kind of the connective tissue through everything is Obi-Wan in the light, in the light kind of way. And then Darth Maul, he's such a bad MFer. He's so epic. I mean, we touched on, I know Ray, you did too. Just anytime he's on camera or on,
Get ready.
Like he's just him. And granted, his Phantom Menace appearance alone would have put him on there for me just because of how epically awesome he was, from the dual-bladed lightsaber to being able to twirl and just some of the movements and his look. He looks like a bad guy. But in Clone Wars, when you really get to see him talk and where he came from and his life, and man, he's just gone through the ringer, and this dude is just like a rage monster of spite and like everything you hear about the Sith of like suffering and anger. Like he is like literally the epitome of that, and he does not care about anything but himself and getting power. And if you're in his way, he will just wreck you. But he's also really smart. He's really manipulative. We see that with Ezra and Rebels.
He's got a brother too. Named
His brother, Savage, and you see Palpatine kill his brother. So his hatred for the Empire, he wants everybody to burn.
Is his brother with the Force also, or no?
He was dark side, yeah. He was with the dark side. He looks like him, but way bigger and like yellow. Okay. Voiced by oh my gosh, the guy who he was Lex Luthor in like the animated stuff.
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown is his brother's voice actor.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, at one point he has the Darksaber Maul. He takes over Mandalore, which you saw is just like, I mean, he is just a bad dude. So he was very close to being my top 5, but he was number 6 for me.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll do the top 5 one by one. I think they're worthy of that.
Well, you know mine because I actually messed up and said it by accident. But I have my number 5 is Darth Vader.
Anakin
Skywalker.
Okay.
What else can you say? Anakin, I need to watch the Clone Wars to flesh his character out more.
Yes, you really
know
do.
What I mean? So because he didn't do again, not Hayden Christensen's fault, but didn't do it justice in the 3 films, right? But Darth Vader, man, I mean, when most people name our number 1 villain, in movie history,
it's him.
It's usually Darth Vader is right up there.
Oh, yeah.
Most people's tip of the tongue. You know what I mean? What's the name of a major bad guy in some movie franchise? They're going to say Darth Vader, I think. Yeah. So and the fact that he did make such a huge splash and has been so iconic.
Yeah.
That says a lot about him being the bad guy, but being held in such high regard in some ways. But yeah, I just think he, for those reasons alone. And then Rogue One came out and really showed us who Darth Vader was, and now then followed by the Obi-Wan show also. I mean, it was just really cool to see that character more fleshed out and getting more screen time.
Yeah.
And I did like his small appearance at the end of the Clone Wars too. He didn't say
it's
much,
awesome.
But, just kind of, it was like...
It's kind of the ending of...
It is. It's
such a perfect shot.
Yep. Why did she... This is going off topic here, but whose lightsaber was that she left in the... You remember that?
Hers that he gave her.
So that's why she threw it down and left it, knowing he'd probably find it. So he found it, turned it on, and
the white lightsabers that you see her with, and she found she fought a Sith one, and so I don't know how much you know about kyber crystals, but white lightsabers, you're taking the bleeding out of the bleeding kyber, because crystals are either green, blue. I guess for Samuel L. Jackson, purple.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of colors.
when you kill, they turn, kill out of hate. They turn red. They bleed the crystals because they don't want to they're like have souls. They're like, I don't want to kill for bad reasons, so they turn red. So Ahsoka defeats and kind of gets the bleeding out because she's so good, and stuff like that, which is cool. So yeah, that was the gifted lightsabers. So.
Thank you for sharing that with me, because I knew it was something. There was some type of meaning behind that. You know what I mean? So all right, cool. That was good stuff then.
Yeah.
So yeah, are we just?
I'll go. My 5 is Captain Rex.
Captain Rex. Okay.
He's so important to everything. He's really the tie with Anakin and Ahsoka. I would argue he might be the main character of Clone Wars with Ahsoka. Like those two, he's in everything. He leads the entire clones. He's like the main guy, and you're pretty much seeing most of the battles through him. And but he also has like these side missions because he's the main guy. With Ahsoka and Anakin, where it's like just him, and he has so many relationships with so many of the key members of the Star Wars universe, including like the Bad Batch, and he's like recruiting them when he's done, and he's kind of the one who helps with the inhibitor chip thing, as you saw in like Clone Wars, and his ability to kind of overcome so many deaths and tragedies, but stay kind of the good guy that he is until the end. I mean, he fought in the Battle of Endor, when he's an old guy. Actually, it's funny. There's like an actor who had like a white beard in like Return of the Jedi, who now they're saying is Captain Rex.
Oh, really?
That guy's pretty. Yeah, he can be Rex. You see him in Rebels. He's an older retired guy. He's in there a lot. You see him fighting the Bad Batch post Clone Wars, still in the shadows, doing stuff to help other clone troopers. He's just so important to Anakin and Ahsoka. And if you watch Clone Wars or a fan of Clone Wars, it's almost impossible not to have Rex on there. He's just such a interesting clone. His story's so impactful.
Well, all right, coming at it from my point of view, again, Captain Rex, when I would hear about him, the next clone I would always hear about would be Commander Cody. Yeah. So does he also feature?
Yeah, so if you think about it, so each, I guess, Jedi Master has like their commander.
So Rex is
Anakin's, and really Ahsoka's too. Especially after Anakin's so OP'd in Clone Wars, kind of gets like he goes with, but he's really there for Ahsoka. You know what I mean? Commander Cody's Obi-Wan's. And in Clone Wars, you see Cody and Rex interact a lot. Like they're kind of leading a lot of stuff together.
Got it. Are they buddies too?
They are. Yeah. They have an awesome. In it, but obviously Cody didn't get his inhibitor chip, so he doesn't make it. I mean, he survives.
We don't ever hear about him again, though, do we?
He just appeared in Bad Batch season 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And in Bad Batch, help me out. Is that during the bad time?
It's after. Yeah, it's like during the
when the Empire's ruling.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it's really cool to see them two together. They're the two. They're the two clones. Like if you were to say like name two clones, it'd be Cody and Rex.
Nice.
But yeah, he's amazing. So who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Din Djarin, actually.
Oh, Mando.
Yeah, I threw him up on my number 4, man. A lot of the same reasons you said, right? I mean, he's on his shoulders alone has saved the Star Wars
his
universe.
back must be really sore.
Exactly, and I mean, everything you just said was things I was going to say, how he's kind of become that, taking Boba Fett's spot in a roundabout way. You know what I mean? To have that cool mystique.
He's the coolest looking character in Star Wars.
Yeah,
point
for
blank,
sure.
period. Like he's like, that is really cool.
Yeah. And for the past 3 seasons, man, I've really grown fond of him, and he's just a badass. And he just really is. And we've seen a lot of growth from him. Through these 3 seasons. He just started off as a straight bounty hunter. That's all he was doing. Straight, and then with the influence of Grogu, and then he's opened himself up to other people, you know what I mean, and become part of this thing. But no, that's, for me, he's risen up the ranks rather quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why
he can still go up,
5.
too,
Yeah.
for sure. And it's funny because like I like him as just the badass bounty hunter, and I like him as space dad. You know what I mean? Both. No, for saying my 4 is Luke.
Okay.
Luke's number 4. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to top him. It really is. I mean, he's like the hero, kind of all heroes. I mean, really. And I've touched on it before. His appearance in Mando season 2. It's like the biggest freak out I've ever had. I think it's the greatest thing that's happened, and it was just insane. But I mean, what an amazing character. I mean, the original trilogy, Mark Hamill, to see, his arc with his father. And I think they're kind of tied at the hip, together. I feel like he might have been higher if it wasn't for Last Jedi.
Really?
Just ruined him.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
That did.
Not his fault at all. And like, honestly, when I thought of this, making this list, like I didn't even think of the sequel. I tried to honestly just block that from my brain because I'm like, that's not my Luke. You know what I mean? But what an important hero. I mean, he is the main character of the most important trilogy ever, and I don't know what else more to say. He's Luke's freaking Skywalker.
He's Luke's freaking Skywalker.
He
dude.
shows up and it's game over. I always want to know more about Master Luke. We got a quick little snippet of him. I'm sure he'll show up in the Ahsoka series. Hopefully,
So cool if he did.
Now, kind of like my dream situation. I just want to see him learn about his father and interact with others. So, but he's number 4 for me. So we're getting to the top 3.
We are getting the top 3. I love that he's number 4 for you. My top 3.
I know your top 3 are. What order are they going to be?
Exactly. My top 3. I'll start with the number 3, and just because you've heard me say it over and over again on this show, without these 3 characters, I don't know if I would have been a Star Wars fan. That's just the truth of the matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the camaraderie and the way they were all work together. Princess Leia. I've got her as Leia Organa as my number 3. I know people are like, what, Leia? But I mean, dude, she's the way she was portrayed, even in Obi-Wan.
Yep.
We got to see her as a young child.
Great.
And I thought her character was fantastic in that. I really did. You can see the beginnings of Leia, the spunky Leia that we see, you know what I mean, and first introduced to in A New Hope.
Yep.
And then the way she progressed on throughout that trilogy, and then even the sequel trilogy, they did a little bit more with her character than the others. You know what I mean? And they had big plans for her in 3 before Carrie Fisher passed away. But and I just love, like I said, the dynamic with those 3 characters, Luke, her, and Han. And Chewie, I'll throw them in there as well.
Yeah.
That to me is.
No, she's great. And I will say she does make a 1 episode appearance in Rebels.
Oh, that's cool.
She comes and she's spunky. But you see the hero side of her. It's before she's with Han and Luke. I guess pre
New Hope.
Yeah, pre when she gets captured in New Hope, I guess. Mm-hmm. And you see like the hero side of her too, and it's really cool to see. I think her daughter actually voices her in that.
Oh, really? Billy Lord. That's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Ahsoka.
Okay.
I mean, this is really kind of like number 2. Ahsoka is just she's amazing. You know what I mean? She's the main character of Clone Wars, which is just spectacular. Her relationship, obviously being Anakin's Padawan, she has a lot of him in her, but she has a lot of her own like side. She's got some Obi-Wan in her. She's like a blend of all of the characters that I love the most. Luke, obviously, is a little Anakin as well, and she's got a lot of Luke in her. She's just like such a strong character in her because she didn't stay in the Jedi and she moved around. She's in Rebels. She's a freaking badass in Rebels. She's like, when Luke shows up in Mandalorian, you're just like everyone's toast. Like when she shows up, you're like, it's over. And it's actually funny if you really think. And I've heard Dave Filoni talk about this when she appeared in Boba Fett. She's really more of a higher up than Luke. Even though it's like, oh, Master Luke, but like she was part of the Jedi. Like she was on par with Obi-Wan, who taught Luke. She would be his senior, basically. And what I pray that they show it in the show of her talking with Luke about his dad.
They need to do that.
And you had a quick moment of it in Boba Fett where he says something and she looks at him. She's like, just like your father. And I've seen like a lot of people just like really like that hits them. Especially if you're with Clone Wars, like it just because she knows Anakin better than anybody, and I'm talking including Padme. A lot of people have seen Clone Wars think if she was the one who would have went to Mustafar, he wouldn't have turned. Like without a doubt, he would have gone to the ends of the earth to protect her.
Really?
And he tried, which is why she left the Jedi Order, because she realized how far he was willing to go to. I mean,
just how flawed it all was.
Yeah, how flawed it all was. And she's so smart. She sees the problems with the Jedi and why they're going to fail long before Order 66. and she was right. I mean, she's just the total package of everything. In between Ashley Eckstein voicing her and now Rosario, absolutely amazing character, like absolutely amazing. So she's my number 3.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, but she's the linchpin between Anakin and Luke. So if you're really into those two characters, she's really a character you can tie yourself to because she's got both of them in her. It's great.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. She made my list. She's a little lower, but as we go on, as I immerse myself back into other stuff, I guarantee she'll continue to rise.
All right, 2 got Han or Luke, my man.
No, right? You know exactly. I have Luke Skywalker. So
at 2. Oh, wow.
At 2.
Not the choice I thought you were going with.
Yeah, I went with Luke on this one. Honestly, they could have been interchangeable for different reasons, but I did stick with Luke. And it's a lot of the same reasons you said, right? I mean, we do follow him. He's our first introduction into what this whole Jedi stuff is all about. Right. I mean, we actually through Luke's eyes how we're introduced into the Jedi Order or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in A New Hope. So we watch him progress from a simple farm boy.
Yeah, sticking a lightsaber right here.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, that's a funny meme.
Oh, it really is. What does this button do?
Exactly. But no, it's just the progression of Luke throughout that trilogy is is pretty good. Is awesome actually, and then the fact that we've seen him more in the newer stuff too. And I agree with you. I think we will see him, if not in Ahsoka, then maybe in the movie where they're bringing everybody.
Movie.
The kind of the Avengers movies, so to speak, where they're pulling all the different people together. So that's what I think we'll see him in. But Mark Hamill did a fantastic job. I mean, like I said, he was the one who we were watching and growing through it in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And then I have a high regard for him too because he had that. It's always funny if you really think about it. How long was he actually on Dagobah with Yoda?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because it was like time was moving really funny in that movie. You know what I mean? It was like he was there 2 days and was learning so much. What it seemed like, but he was probably there for a longer time. But I say this about Luke is that everybody else had these Jedis to lean on and learn from, and
kind of raw. I mean, he had Yoda and Obi-Wan, but
but I mean, it was really Luke on his own. Unless something, maybe I don't. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
It was really him, and he built his own lightsaber. After he lost it in Empire, he came back in Return, had his own lightsaber and stuff like that. So that's why he made my number 2.
He's also a flawed hero. You know, he loses. He's kind of. He whines a little bit in the first one with a little Anakin in him. But he also he makes mistakes. Yeah. But he overcomes. I think that's what I really think. Like him and Superman. If you ask name a hero, Luke Skywalker, and they're an embodiment of what that is.
Both simple farm boys.
The simple farm boys. You want to be a hero, grow up on a farm.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I'm going with his dad on number 2. I'm going with Vader.
Okay.
Darth Vader, for all the reasons you say, he's the most iconic villain of all time. I mean, to me, when you think of Star Wars, I just see Vader. That look is just so iconic. He's a one character that's kind of bigger than the franchise. He's an icon just by himself, with the voice and the look, and also it's really his story. The whole thing is based off of his arc, and the Rogue One moment definitely helped his cause big time. You really got to see him. If you want to see him wreck people, though, Rebels as well. Even you hear Maul even say I can't beat him. I can't beat him.
Oh, really?
No, it's gonna take a hold of him. No, they're terrified of him. Everyone's just terrified of him. And it's kind of cool. They don't do this in the movies, but in Rebels, what I like is because the Sith, they feed off of hatred, and really what's sad about Vader is he's not really even he's like a schizophrenic. He hates himself. And that's really what makes him so powerful. Is he's so hate is not for other people. It's what he did to Padme. He didn't want to go to the dark side. He just wanted to save his freaking wife.
All he wanted, yeah.
And then everything spiraled out of control, and he made bad move after bad move, and he doesn't really even hate Obi-Wan as much as he really hates himself.
Right.
He knows what he did, and it really became this other the reason I call them two different people is he talks about Anakin as if it's a different person, and I think because of Clone Wars and what I saw Anakin, who he was, like it's not like Hayden to Vader, you know, of how they portrayed it. It's so different, you know.
Right.
It'd be like Superman going and becoming the Joker. Like it's like of all the people, like he would be the last one to
Right.
go. And just to see the tragedy of who he became, but then as the chosen one for his son, you know, I mean, and the "I am your father" might be the biggest line in the history of
Yes.
film. I mean, it really is. I wished of all the movie moments, I wish I could have lived that like as it happened. You know what I mean? To experience like,
Yeah.
what? Like, you got to be freaking
It
kidding me.
was crazy.
Yeah. So he's my number 2.
There you
Which
go.
leads our to number 1.
I think you already know it.
Going solo.
Yeah, going solo, man. Han Solo.
He's your guy.
He is my guy, dude. I really enjoy that character. He's a fun character. And also, I got to say, though, the character development of him also, from the progression of how we very first meet him, he's just not a bounty hunter, but he was just, you know.
Yeah, smuggler.
Smuggler, thank you. Smuggler, only cared about himself and Chewie and the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all he cared about, and making money and all of that. So to see him, the progression again to that original trilogy, how we're introduced to him, who you can say whoever fired first, him or Greedo, whatever you want to say. But you know what I mean? I still say Han follows.
Yeah.
I know they changed it in the new ones, but Han shoots first, man. And that shows you what kind of scoundrel he really was. You know, he was like, "I'll just kill you and move on." But then we see him in each movie. It gets a little bit. He becomes more of that hero that he's always been.
And you say he leaves, comes back.
Yeah, you know, he left in A New Hope, and the next thing you know, if he hadn't come back, Luke
all would have went to waste.
Everything would have been done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Death Star
Vader
would
had
have
him.
blown up. Vader did have him. So luckily, Han decided to come back, and that's where he had that change of heart because of the influence of Luke.
Yep.
You know, and maybe the hotness of Leia.
Yeah. Maybe.
From his eyes, you know, that's what drew him back. But yeah, man. And then like I said, it's just but none of them work without each other,
right?
In my opinion.
Oh
those
yeah,
three.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Leia, Luke, and Han.
Absolutely.
It was just the way they gelled and worked together.
You have to have one.
So really, it could have been Luke and Han, like I said, were jockeying, but it was really Solo, I think. And I just loved the dynamic between him and Chewie. He's just a cool dude, man, cool guy. But I'd like to see how he went from that scoundrel smuggler to being a general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that progression. And then I hated to see him die by his son, but it is what it is. You know.
Did you like when he's like showed up briefly in the last one?
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice.
Didn't really make sense, but
it didn't make a whole lot of sense how
like,
he
you
could
can't
see
force
him.
ghosts, but
Exactly.
okay.
You know,
That was cool.
Yeah, but it was.
I allowed it for that one.
I know
whatever.
exactly. But yeah, I did like the fact it added a little something to it.
Yeah.
You know, to see him actually having we hadn't seen that.
Right.
We hadn't seen any type of relation. Briefly, Han was trying in.
But to see him allow it
in The
call
Force
him dad
Awakens.
and all
Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, that was really good. So yeah. That's it.
Good list, man. Mine's obviously Anakin at
Right.
the end. I'm specifically going Clone Wars version of Anakin. The dude is super OP. He's like the Superman of the Star Wars. He's the chosen one. It's all based off of him. And just in the Clone Wars version in particular, I mean, the dude has like the heart of gold. He's the guy you want on your team. He will abandon rules, not follow it, drive Obi-Wan nuts because he won't listen, but he's right all the time. And just he's the best parts of Luke. He's the best parts of Ahsoka. He cares very deeply about the people he cares about. And he kind of, you know, in his own way, kind of like Qui-Gon, just like, okay, like I'm a Jedi, but like all these rules are like for the birds, man.
Yeah.
Like I love Padme. I'm with Padme. I do things on my own agenda, which ultimately has a lot of Darth Vader in them too. But when he's using them for the right reasons, it just makes him a very fascinating character. And then, you know, he's the guy when he shows up. I mean, it's just like, it's funny they asked, I saw Filoni in Favreau, you know, prime Luke, prime Anakin. And he's like, Anakin. Like,
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't even be close. It'd
Right.
he's just the dude. So he's my number one. Ray, I know you have, you're a Star Wars fan. Do you have a couple favorites on your list?
Yeah, I got a few honorable mentions you guys missed. So,
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I didn't think any of you named any droids, did you?
No.
No? Well, I'd like to mention K2SO from Rogue One.
Oh, okay.
Tons of character in that one.
Yeah,
I
that's
love,
true, actually.
I love BB-8.
BB-8's great.
R2, come on.
Yeah, R2.
Love
of course.
R2.
R2.
Moving on to top 3 best stormtroopers.
Okay, I love it.
The stormtrooper who hits his head.
Okay, good
Jake,
call.
Jake
good call.
guessed it. The stormtrooper who punches Grogu. You don't remember?
At the finale
Ted
of
Lasso.
Mandalorian, yeah. Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got Stormtrooper played by Bill Burr, Miggs Mayfield, who I actually really liked. He offered a really interesting perspective into the Imperial structure.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
What the average Stormtrooper is like.
Yeah.
But moving on, I gotta go with Jango Fett's cooler than Boba Fett, honestly.
Ooh, Django's.
Okay.
I think he has better moments, but
He is all the
He
clones.
didn't hang out very.
He is all the
did,
clones.
yeah.
But he did. But my point, when he went up against Mace.
Mace got his head.
It didn't last very long.
No.
yeah. And then I missed IG-88, another droid.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like him. Super battle droid. He just looks cool. All right, I gotta move on. Mace Windu, of course, you mentioned
go.
him. I just had to say him myself.
Mace sick.
And then finally we have Plo Koon. I just think he has an
Koon's awesome.
design.
Yeah.
He's really cool.
Also has a great relationship with Ahsoka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's very cool.
Well, give me a little insight into that character.
The one I don't even know how to call his face. He's like
He looks like he has a crab fur face almost. He has like weird shades over his eyes, and he's really wrinkly,
he's
like
got
a
kind of
brain.
tentacles here. Yeah, he's
Is he in the Clone Wars?
actually yes.
Yeah, he is.
Right. He's part of the. He sits like alongside like Mace and Yoda on the.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about then.
Yeah.
He actually went, didn't he go with them to
Yes.
fight the Emperor? Or Palpatine? Wasn't he one of the guys? Or no? Am I wrong about that?
No. You're thinking of oh my gosh, the green guy with the. Yeah, this guy's like kind of purple.
Oh, okay.
He is a cool. Actually, he's Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi.
Oh, really?
Is Plo Koon. Actually, too, they so in the because on set of Mandalorian season 2 when Luke shows up, they didn't even tell anybody, and they written it Plo Koon, and even the drawings was Plo. So he made it through Order 66 and all that. I have no idea what he was doing, but
Right.
yeah, he's a cool choice.
I thought Plo Koon actually was destroyed in Order 66. No?
He made it.
Oh, I thought he was shot down in a ship, but
They see that's the dude. They retcon that.
oh,
So he does die in Revenge of the Sith. He's actually in one of the fighter planes that, and you see the clones shoot his plane down, his ship down.
you don't
But
see him on death though. Die on screen though. I
Yeah,
guess.
there you go. Yeah, but then they were gonna make him like part of the Mando
Interesting.
verse. Yeah, there you go.
I like it. Now, I like those choices, by the way. And we broke down the droids. Then
I'm gonna say Chopper's my favorite droid.
Chopper.
yeah.
So I want to go back to the droids, back to the Clone Wars, because I'm still so involved in that. At the end of the episode of the Clone Wars, the droids R7, I think was his name.
R5.
No, R5 is R5D4.
Oh, R7.
in
Oh, the ones
Mandalorian.
that help Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
were they prominent droids throughout the series, or were they just there? Because my
There are a
point
lot of droids.
But I don't know if they were like. I don't
think so.
Because there was like there's a scene where like the droids were trying to do stuff and they just come up and they start kill these dirty droids. They start killing them. So I didn't know if that was supposed to be
The
like
only
some
one is
emotional
R4, which you see in Mando. That droid's in Clone Wars.
R5.
R5, yeah.
D4. Yeah, because he's actually in A New Hope also.
Yes,
he's that one that Luke could actually pick.
Yeah.
And then he explodes and then you guys like he gets R2
There's
instead.
some good quality droids in that.
I know,
like,
right?
little shipment.
So back to my original question. So those droids weren't
Correct.
like prominently featured throughout the series.
Correct.
Oh, okay, because I thought that was an emotional scene where they
Yeah.
killed him. I was like, is this supposed to be like characters that we've been watching? Okay.
Yeah. Although K2SO when he died in Rogue One, that was tough.
That was tough because he had a lot of personality though
did.
too. You know what I mean? And he was able to talk too. And Alan Tudyk.
Yeah,
Am I saying that
he's
right?
great.
He was the voice of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good choices, man.
I like it, dude. Very cool.
I guess more importantly, let us know what you guys think. Who are your favorite Star Wars characters? Leave a comment. Let us know what you think of our list. I'm sure you have some different opinions than we do. So let us know your favorite characters. And thank you as always for tuning in. We really appreciate the support. You guys showing love to the channel means a lot to us. Please hit that subscribe button. And again, check out Nomadic State of Mind. Big thank you to them for sponsoring this episode. We really appreciate everything, and we look forward to bringing you more and more content as the weeks go by, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Later, guys.